we're back with the Brother Side podcast with Martie Cordaro. We were just mentioning mental health and how important that is during times of COVID. I think all of us can speak on the behalf of mental health and just, being cooped up and, trying to find things to do, and the lack of entertainment's killing us. So, I mean, at least you have your soccer league going.
We do. Yeah, USL is moving along. We second place. As we shoot this, hopefully.
How many games have been played so far?
We've played 3. Some teams have played. I think one team's actually played 5 matches already. So it's a variety. There's 11 teams, so it's not a balanced schedule. Toronto had to pull out, so there would have been 12 clubs, but there's 11, and we'll end up playing a 16-game schedule, 8-8. And then the top 2 teams will play a 1-game championship on Halloween. If we're in first place, we'll host it at Warner Park. If we're in second place, we'll be on the road somewhere. And if we're in third place, then the season will be over, and we'll start to wrap Warner Park up and close it for the winter time.
So it's just a 1-game championship.
It is, yeah. Usually the season runs from late March until early September. And then the playoffs run throughout September, and the championship is the beginning of October. But because of COVID, we didn't get started till right at the end of July. It just changed the construct of the playoffs.
Right.
And we all voted to have more guaranteed games versus unknown games from a playoff perspective, which it makes more sense from a gate perspective.
I thought I checked the schedule. I thought you played 4 already, and there's 2 ties.
Well,
and that's my other bone to pick. How can you tie in soccer? Someone has to win.
Well, as we record this, tomorrow night we're playing on Wednesday, the 12th of August. We'll be playing in Chattanooga. So we're not sure yet on what that result. Yeah, we tied.
I don't get it.
Well, I'm a baseball guy that's learning.
Yeah.
And if you tie on the road, it's as good as getting a win almost, because in soccer you don't win on the road that often. So you want to go on the road, and it's about getting a point.
Okay.
Because for each tie you get 1 point. For each victory you get 3 points. And at the end of the year, the standings are really based on points. Mm-hmm. And that's the way soccer is.
That's how it's done in Europe too.
It is.
Yeah.
It is. No overtime, no shootouts.
Shootouts for the World Cup and championship matches.
That's it.
Yeah. That's it.
That's pretty much it. It's
and there aren't playoffs anywhere other than North America as well in soccer. In other parts of the country, long-standing Europe, you mentioned, it is just the standing. It's the table. It's actually that they call it a table in soccer. And whoever's at the top, you win. That's the way it ends. There's no playoffs. So playoffs are uniquely American as it relates to soccer. And this is all things I've learned.
You're not a giant soccer player.
Well, I'm not a giant anyway. But
you weren't a giant soccer player, because it took you a couple of years to bring it to Omaha.
Yeah,
it was a process.
Started about 5 years ago, quite honestly. Our owner, Gary Green, who's a fantastic guy.
Shout out to Gary.
Yeah, he has adopted Omaha as his second city. Sweet. And the NBA was looking for an ownership group here in the Omaha area to run one of their AAA teams, the NBA D-League.
D-League.
Now it's the G League, sponsored by Gatorade.
Yep.
Yeah, you're up on it.
Yeah.
And so we actually still have the territorial rights to that. But we looked at Ralston Arena. We looked at Baxter when Baxter was still being built, and we negotiated with both buildings and knew where we were going to go. But during that time, the NBA and the owners decided they wanted to control their G League teams and not have independent operators like ourselves controlling them. So it kind of changed the parameters around what the agreements were going to be, and we're not interested in being minority partners with anyone.
Right.
We want to operate it.
Yeah.
Wouldn't have been a problem if they wanted to, if the NBA team, whether it been the Nuggets or the Bulls or the Timberwolves, those are some of the teams that we could have been affiliated with.
Yeah, we love the NBA.
Yeah, and I'm a Nuggets fan only because Paul Millsap plays for the Nuggets right now. He went to Louisiana Tech, but just like I was
that's such a random guy to be a fan of.
Well, he went to Louisiana Tech.
He went to his college.
I know, but it's like. He's not that big of a name, though.
Not now.
Paul Millsap is a name.
When he was in Atlanta, he was.
Yeah. He was a go-to guy.
Yeah, because he left Utah. But anyway, I'm way off target here.
No,
so
that's the part of podcasting.
That's typical. We're all over the place.
But when that fell apart, Gary started looking at other options, and there was a soccer league called the NASL, North American Soccer League, which folded about a year and a half ago. Gary looked at it, and he wasn't real comfortable with it. He didn't really believe in the financial solvency of it. Well, he was right. And during the time that it was going under, the USL, which has been around for 20 plus years, reached out to us, and those conversations started about 2.5 years ago. Mm-hmm. And then we announced May of 2019 that we were bringing it. We announced our name October of 2019, and we hired Jay Mims, who started the UNO program, took UNO to national tournament, won the Summit League championship, and they were top 10 ranking. Well, he went and worked for the MLS club in Salt Lake, Real Salt Lake. We hired him back, and he's put together the squad that's 2-0-1, and we'll see. We'll see. And our next home match is next Wednesday on August the 19th. There are limited tickets remaining for that. So, by the by the time this airs, hopefully that will be another victory.
Yeah. How do you have any hair left with everything that's going on? You're managing 2 teams while you're the president of 2 teams through COVID. Yeah, and you still got a good flow going.
Yeah,
well,
it's jealous.
I'm sure there's days where you're like,
more like yours, if you remember. I don't know. We didn't really know each other before, but I let everything grow. I let my hair grow. I let my beard grow, and I ended up shaving my beard on my anniversary on May the 5th. But I didn't get a haircut until sometime after July 1st, and it's time for another haircut. But yeah, I don't know. I don't know how I still have hair. I guess good genes.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's the answer.
I would be pulling it out left and right with what you're going through this year. That's for sure.
So I kind of want to get back. We were talking about mental health, and I got to ask, how are the minor league players doing?
Yeah, because they got. That's a great question. Most of the players that would have been in Omaha are in Kansas City. So each major league club has there's 60 players. It's called a 60-player pool. Mm-hmm. And I think it's a 28-person active roster, and then there's 32 extra players. So the Royals taxi squad, if you will, obviously isn't here in Omaha. It's in Kansas City at the T-Bones. That's an independent league baseball facility, kind of like the Lincoln Salt Dogs. They're in the same league. Okay. So they're renting that out because they're not playing either. So most of the players that would have been here, they're there, and they're up and down as they would have been from Omaha to Kansas City. But the rookie ball guys, low A guys, high A guys, most of double A guys are not. Thank you. They're not playing, and that's a great question. Not being involved day to day.
Because they don't make much money anyway.
Well, they don't. The Royals were the very first team to come out and say, A, we're going to pay our players through the season, and B, we're not going to release any minor league players. And there were a number of organizations before the Royals did that went ahead and started releasing players. Yeah. So they're paying players that were never ever going to make the major leagues, meaning they were filler for this season. Plus, they're paying players who are going to age out as well. But that's how Dayton Moore, that's how they do it. They treat people like people. And it's not just about who's the most talented, and it is somewhat about family. And I feel very confident that we're going to be, we could sit here in 2 or 3 years and we could be talking about a club that's back in the playoffs and potentially winning a World Series by 22, 23, 24 again. And it's going to be awesome.
Bold statement right there.
I love it.
No,
bring it on.
Just hit the table.
No, I'm confident in that. I really am. I mean, their pitching depth in the minors is something that, I'm not going to say it's like the Braves were back when we were talking earlier, back, at the 80s going into the 90s. I'm not going to say it's that rich, but their pitching talent, depth, and the fact that for the most part they're all developing, and they have some underrated guys that weren't top prospects that are also developing. When you can develop pitching, you can go out and trade for, and you can sign hitting. It's very difficult to do that, to go out and get pitching. If you remember, that's what ultimately put the Royals over the top when they traded Will Myers and some others to get James Shields and Wade Davis. And, it was great to get Shields here. But Davis, from a bullpen perspective, is really what put him over the top with HDH, with Davis, Davis, with Holland, Davis, and Herrera. And I have confidence that we're going to be seeing that again soon. Does it mean they're going to win the World Series? No. But do I think they're going to be competing for one? Absolutely.
Well, yeah, it's awesome. Absolutely pitching. I mean, this is turning into a Royal show, but I remember when Will Myers was traded away, people are like, "Whoa, he was supposed to be a big-time future prospect, one of the best prospects."
He was minor league player of the year in
Right.
12 when he played here in Omaha for the Storm Chasers, and 3 months after being named minor league player of the year, he's traded in December. So I mean, there were a lot of, even us, we're like, oh man, we're not going to get to see Will in Kansas City,
Yeah.
but it's worked out. Will has gone on to make, I don't know, $100 million or whatever his contract was with the San Diego Padres. It's worked out for him after he went to Tampa and then got traded to San Diego. You know, it's worked out for a lot of folks, and you know, and there are a lot of times we forget because we talk about the community, we talk about fireworks, we talk about all the fun things we do at the ballpark, but we forget sometimes to promote the type of player or the quality of players. But 75% of players that have played in Omaha for the Omaha AAA franchise have gone on to play Major League Baseball. The average in AAA is 71%. Why the difference? I think it's because Kansas City's a small. Kansas City's a small market. Kansas City's a small market, and they don't go after free agents like a lot of other clubs do. So they're promoting their players more. Here's one example. I was reading the other day. Will Smith was a left-handed pitcher who pitched here. I guess it was 13 and 14. I can't remember exactly when.
That's not the Will Smith I know.
He was different. Different. But he got traded in a small deal to the Angels. He ended up going to the Giants. Well, Will signed a 3-year, $39 million deal with the Braves this past offseason to go pitch in Atlanta. So you have players like that. Those are the type of players we're seeing here. And I think we can probably do a better job on reminding the community that it's not just about great family fun entertainment. It's also about seeing the top caliber athlete in the baseball world right here.
Yeah.
Right here at Warner Park.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
Yeah, there's been some really good players that have come through the Royals system. Now, a lot of times Royals have been handicapped by financials that the Yankees have. You know, Royals are never going to be the Yankees, but they've definitely had some talent come through their system.
Absolutely.
And so we haven't been able to pay some of the big contracts. You know, that's why Hosmer left and Moustakas isn't here, and, you know, others. But that doesn't mean that we don't have good players. And it just takes the right blend, you know, and the right timing to make all that work. And it worked in 2014 was just as exciting as 2015.
It was.
Yeah, I mean, that wild card game with the A's, I was
in New Orleans for that.
Yeah.
I was in New Orleans watching that game. Yeah, I remember that.
It was incredible.
It
the
was.
Stolen bases, oh, gosh. Yep. That's getting pretty specific for this podcast and these listeners. But, what a time to be alive and be a Royals fan. Which it's not. You don't get to say that very much.
You don't. You don't.
But you're going to continue to.
Yeah,
that's exciting.
I think so too.
It's coming.
There's good leadership, and you can see the direction they're going.
Yeah, they're competitive this year, so it's
But
good.
You've been around. Were you with the organization when they were the Omaha Royals?
I was, yeah.
You oversaw the transition.
I did. My first 4 years, I was actually brought here to move AAA baseball out of town. The previous ownership group, that's why they hired me, and figure out a deal, find out where we're going to be long term. We pretty much knew, it wasn't public yet, but we pretty much knew behind the scenes that Rosenblatt was going to go away. The NCAA didn't want it anymore. So they kind of dictated, plus the zoo kind of dictated what was going to happen. So we're kind of like,
so much power.
What are we going to do? So after my first year here, which was 2007, then I was promoted to GM in fall of 2007. And then it was figure out what we're going to do. And you know what? I screwed it up, and I kept it here in the Metro. And we got to deal with Sarpy County. So so my first 4 years were the last 4 years at Rosenblatt. And now I don't know what I'm supposed to say. I can't say 10 seasons, but 9 seasons, 10 years at Warner Park for Storm Chasers.
Has it been
now.
that long already?
It is. This would have been our 10th season celebration. Yeah, we had all kind of things planned this year. Yeah.
Fireworks Fridays were going to be
congrats.
out of this world. Yeah, no kidding.
That's an accomplishment right there. Cheers to that.
Cheers to that. No kidding.
So let's take a break from the baseball for a minute. You're in a band.
I am.
Drawing board.
And I'm leaving here to go to band rehearsal tonight. We're playing August 27th out at Warner Park for one of our bands and brews. But I am. It's 3 surgeons that work for Nebraska Medicine, and they're way smarter than I am. Three of me can't equal what the smarts of one of those guys. I always joke I'm just a dumb baseball guy, but I'm a drummer, and the name of the group is called The Drawing Board, and we got together, I guess, May of 2019. So we haven't played that many gigs because we were just getting going when all this hit. But it's alternative rock, it's classic rock, it's stuff from the Beatles and the Stones. all the way to Foo Fighters and
Sweet. That's
Tom
awesome.
Petty and all in between. So
Do you play any original material? Do you
we
guys have any-
don't. We've talked about doing some things, but honestly, we're only able to rehearse a couple times a month. Most of us have families. 2 of the 4 of us have kids, and and quite frankly, we kind of shut it down when COVID started because no one really knew. But now it's funny. I'm behind this huge plexiglass drum divider because I play a little too hard and loud. But now it's kind of my natural barrier for COVID. I call it my COVID protector. And but no, hopefully we're going to get started with some more gigs this fall. Yeah.
You've seen Step Brothers, right?
I have. It's one of my wife's favorite Will Ferrell
Nobody's
movies.
put their nuts on
Yeah.
your drum set yet?
Not this drum set.
Not this one, but it's happened.
Do you play any other
Different-
instruments besides drums?
I don't. I
No?
don't. I wish I could sing and play guitar. Those would be the 2 things that I've always would have always loved to do. I ruined my vocal cords in 4th and 5th grade yelling at sporting events. Literally scarred them. And
Seriously?
yes,
Like,
years.
that's a real
oh
thing?
yeah, years ago. And the guitar intimidates me. It's like, wow, how do people do that? So I'm the guy who hangs out with musicians. I'm a drummer.
You can look at a drum set and be pretty intimidated too, though. Like for a novice like us,
Yeah.
who are musically challenged,
Well,
vocally
you are
challenged.
doing,
Hey, I
you
play
are
more
doing
than you.
4
I-
things at the same time, and then 5 if you're singing. So yeah,
I played percussion, 6th
You
grade.
did play.
I was
percussion.
banging on that triangle left and right, just ting, ting, ting.
Yeah, you beat.
No,
the
I
heck out of
I tried the
triangle.
guitar freshman year of college
I forgot
and
about
failed
that.
miserably.
Well, you
I
just
was
didn't
doing, I was
try
doing
it.
the like, I'll play guitar, pick up chicks, that whole thing.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Who?
Nothing happened. I couldn't play the guitar, and I didn't pick up chicks. So that was my experience with music.
So with the band, you said you play alternative rock and classic rock. Is that your favorite kind of music? Is that, or is that just like how the as a group?
Some of the bands that we play, I do really enjoy. They're my favorites. I mean, I do like a variety of music. I would say just rock and roll in general. I like. I'm not a big metal guy, but I'm also probably not a big garage rock underground guy. But kind of more center. I'm not a country guy unless you want to go with Johnny Cash and Merle Haggard and Conway Twitty, and I call it real country, not country pop.
Sure.
Not this stuff nowadays. But I'm a huge Johnny Cash guy, and I like some jazz. And being from the South, from Louisiana, I like some real old blues music, not rhythm and blues, but blues with Slim Harpo and Muddy Waters. And so I like a variety. But you know what? I like Tool just as much as I like Foo Fighters, and then there are some bluegrass and folk bands that I like as well. So I like a variety. I like a variety of music.
Awesome. We need to get into Star Wars.
I can't.
You said
really?
your anniversary is May 5th, right?
It is.
And I thought May the 5th be with you. No, it's May the 4th. It's May the 4th be with you.
Well,
yeah.
But it went through
There's
my
an
head.
easy story to why May 5th, because it was a Saturday in between homestands in 2001. That's why May the 5th happened. It was
Okay.
either that or wait until the fall. So we chose to get married in spring, took our honeymoon in the fall. So that's why early. Those people are like, that's in the middle of baseball season.
Yeah.
It is. It is,
To-
but that's why. And there was no Cinco de Mayo meeting to it, none of that. It was just a Saturday in between homestands. That's all it was. But it's a very special Saturday. It was in between homestands.
Super
Jeez,
special.
brownie points over
Yeah,
here.
no kidding.
Yeah, no, part of this podcast is talking about your other side, right? So you got a Star Wars, you're a Star Wars fanatic, right? No? Yeah. I was like, oh boy, I didn't do my
Oh
research.
my gosh.
What
just happened?
Yeah.
It's
Hold on, before you get started, just give him your Chewy. Is that a good Chewy?
That's not. It's all right.
That's a
It's not
legit
the-
Chewy.
It's not even the best one in the department, really. There's another guy in the department that has
a better Chewy?
Has a
I thought
better
he had the
Chewy than
best.
I do, and he does the whole like arm thing too. It's like every time he does it, he does the arm thing. It's hilarious.
Chewy never does that though, does he?
No,
His arms-
I know, but he's a beast.
Yeah,
He's just
yeah.
like so. He does this arm
there was
thing.
one movie he did it in. I don't know if it was Revenge of the Sith. I'm thinking when he was waving his arms when they were trying to protect Yoda during Order 66. But anyway, back to your
Oh,
question.
holy nerd.
Oh yeah.
No.
Oh my gosh. Order 66. I just yeah.
Whoa. No, so yeah, how'd you get cut into the Star Wars?
So my dad took me, I think it was I was young, obviously, in 77, 78. I think it was the re-release of Star Wars, which would have been late 77 or early 78. My dad took me. I was born in 73.
Okay.
So I was 4 at some point when he took me, either closer to 4 or closer to almost turning 5, and I just loved it. I just loved it. I don't really know why. And then obviously at that time, there were toys. Star Wars came out with toys about 6 months, after the movie hit, and I wish I would have known how valuable the toys were going to be. I wish my parents would have known how valuable the toys were going to be. Then I would have had more stuff then. But yeah, I followed Star Wars, and I had a small collection when I was young. And then in 95, so original Star Wars toys kind of ended 85, 86.
Okay.
And then Star Wars kind of went dormant for about 10 years. And then in 95, they started re-releasing all the figures. And I had a son that was, my oldest, was born in December of 95. So I started collecting all Star Wars toys again, really for him. Like, oh, this is going to be worth a mint. Those toys are not really worth a mint, but it was fun. But what it led to was pretty bad addiction sometimes. But it's been my release, if you will, from the hustle and bustle. That Star Wars is probably an answer of how I have hair and how I have sanity. It's kind of my release. And about 5 or 6 years ago, I befriended a guy in town named Bill Harvat. And Bill recently started selling his collection. I actually bought some of his collection. But Bill and I met when he was working at Warner Enterprises, and now he does some video work. And he works somewhere else now here in town. But Bill's huge. He actually has a Star Wars podcast, and he
Star Wars only podcast.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Does he have guests like that dress up and stuff? Like
no, not really.
It's just him talking about
he and a
Star
friend
Wars.
and his brother, and they talk Star Wars, and they talk about the movies and toys and collections. But so Bill helped pique my interest in the vintage toys.
Yeah.
And I didn't have a lot of vintage, as I said earlier. I had a smaller collection when I was young. So in my collection of stuff, I went and pulled my vintage out, and it was probably 2014 or 15, maybe 15, 16. I can't remember exactly when. I need to go back and look. So I started getting back into collecting vintage, or maybe I started collecting vintage. I never really had. And it has become kind of almost a way of life, a little bit to a degree. And I've joined a number of Facebook pages on Star Wars groups, but there's one called the Imperial Commissary. It's a guy named Michael Havens out of Nashville started, and it's a collection of about 23,000 people from around the world. And it's a Star Wars community, and it's largely based on buying and selling toys, but it's also about movie information, and there are fundraisers. We help raise money for different groups in South Africa, and we've sent toys there. And if someone's kid gets sick, we all send toys, and like if they're in the hospital, I mean, it's kind of it's not just like
a cult almost.
No. It's a giant fan club.
Collective. Yeah, it is. And a cult. Come on, that's Manson. We're not talking about Manson right now. We can do that next podcast, but or Jim Jones or whoever you want to go with, or Jeffrey. Anyway,
Jeffrey Dahmer.
I'll stop.
The Jeffrey Dahmer cult.
But and it's there's I'm not a guy that's going to know every trivia. I throw out Order 66, but that's a fairly common known thing.
No, it's not.
But it is, and that was the order that when the clone troopers, they were programmed to kill all the Jedis, and that's how the Jedis died in Revenge of the Sith. So, and that's why you only had Yoda and a few other Jedis remaining. But I don't know all the characters' names. I don't do dress up as cosplay, but I think the toys are awesome. I have a full collection of the original figures, and I'm working on 2 more because I have 3 boys, so they're each going to have their own. And I have entirely too many toys. I buy and sell, and I've started with a couple of other friends. We started a local collector group called the Echo Base Nebraska Club, and we're actually having a toy sale out at Warner Park on September 19th. It's a free parking, free entry. You guys should come out and see what it's like.
So, all right, we're on the topic of Star Wars. We're running out of time. What's your favorite Star Wars movie?
Empire Strikes Back.
Just hands down. It's not
Empire Strikes Back. Yeah, hands down.
What do you think of the new ones? Like the new.
I get real mixed emotions on those.
Yeah.
Well, of the new ones, Rogue One by far is the best. I think Rogue One
That one's
almost
good.
looks like it was made at the same time that A New Hope and Empire and Return were made. I think they did an amazing job with it. It's a very depressing story if you've seen it, because all the characters die. Spoiler alert.
Oh,
I've seen
God, I
it.
was gonna watch that.
Seen it.
But it's well worth the watch. It's awesome. Solo, was an
I
okay
heard
movie.
Solo. I've
but-
never seen that one.
But it was funny. It was really funny. It shows how Han and Chewie met. You know what? It's worth the entertainment. You know, some
Yeah.
people got all wrapped up. Oh, is it factually true? And oh my gosh, it's not great, but it's fun. And that's
Yeah.
what that. Sometimes films are just meant to be Step Brothers, just meant to be stupid and fun.
So you're not a purist necessarily.
I'm not over the top purist. No, I'm really not. And then as far as the new ones, you know, Force Awakens, The Last Jedi, and then The Rise of Skywalker. You know, I The Force Awakens I did like. I did. The second one of the three was okay, and I personally liked The Rise of Skywalker. There were some people that did not. I personally liked it. It was dark, kind of like Revenge of the Sith was dark. I did not like Phantom Menace at all. I just didn't. I thought it was bad, but I thought it was marketing genius because at the time it came out in '99, you know, like my kid at the time was 4, and I took him to see it, and so it introduced a whole new generation to the Star Wars world. So I got the fact of why you had stupid Jar Jar Binks and you had a little kid as the two primary characters, but I didn't like it. But it wasn't built for us. It was built at that time for people who were 5 to 15 at that time.
Yeah.
So anyway, you may have been 15 in '99.
It may have been. Well, I was a little bit younger.
Oh, you're even younger.
Yeah,
Okay.
Yeah, I was. Yeah.
Wow, I'm showing my age here.
I was a freshman in high school.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
but so I mean, it was.
Yeah.
It was.
Yeah,
something.
we watched
I'm
it.
47, so
Yeah.
Anyway,
Yeah.
there's my Star Wars answers.
Well, we got to wrap it up. Thanks for coming on the show today.
Thanks, Marty.
Be sure to support
Thanks for the beer.
Ailstorm. Yeah, you bet. Support Ailstorm if you can. As soon as Storm Chasers are back, make sure you get to the ballpark. But in the meantime, check out Union Soccer here in
Yeah.
Omaha.
Yeah.
It's something both you and I need to go look at.
Yeah.
UnionOmaha.com. That's the best place
Okay.
to look for the schedule.
Okay.
And we do have tickets remaining for pretty much every game except for September 19th. So we love for people to come out. And then people ask always, how can you support the Omaha Storm Chasers because there's no games? It's going to the team store. Go to the team store from 11 to 2 on Tuesdays and Thursdays. We've got a lot of great gear. I should have brought in. We have a new one that says this was not in the forecast 2020, of course.
That's great.
We've got a lot of great items like that, and that's really the only way you can support the Storm Chasers right now. So, you know, you know what? If you can't this year, we hope to see everybody back in 21.
Awesome. Well, thanks for listening to the Brother Side Podcast. Thank you, Marty. Alex Pearson signing out.
Justin Pearson.
Thanks, guys.